just slashing the worst things you can imagine where, like, these are the best parts of our government and they destroy it. Now Trump's doing this. This is in Wired. FEMA is ending door-to-door canvassing in disaster areas. As it shifts responsibility for recovery efforts to local authorities, FEMA will stop knocking on doors to provide aid to survivors in disaster areas, per a memo obtained by Wired. FEMA is making significant changes to how it will respond to disasters on the ground this season, including ending federal door-to-door canvassing of survivors in disaster areas, Wired has learned. A memo reviewed by Wired, dated May 2nd and addressed to regional FEMA leaders from Cameron Hamilton, a senior official performing duties of the administrator, instructs program offices to take steps to implement 5 key reforms for the upcoming hurricane and wildfire season. Under the first reform, titled Prioritize Survivor Assistance at Fixed Facilities, the memo states that FEMA will discontinue unaccompanied FEMA door-to-door canvassing to focus survivor outreach and assistance registration capabilities in more targeted venues, improving access to those in need, and increasing collaboration with state, local, tribal, and territorial partners and nonprofit service providers. In other words, maybe, if all you guys go to a shelter, maybe we'll go there and give you a little bit of help. But if you're stranded in your home or you're immobile and can't go somewhere, you have no car and you're stuck, sorry, you're on your own. FEMA has for years deployed staff to travel door-to-door in disaster areas, interacting directly with survivors in their homes to give an overview of FEMA aid application processes and help them register for federal aid. This group of workers is part of a larger cadre, often called FEMA's boots on the ground in disaster areas. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that sounds kind of important. I think this is like one of the last things you should ever get rid of. Ending door-to-door canvassing, one FEMA worker says, will severely hamper our ability to reach vulnerable people. And yeah, see, that's the point, guys. Isn't that the exact point? Isn't that exactly why they're doing this? This is literally the reason why. They don't want to help vulnerable people in need. Trump believes the government is for him and his billionaire robber baron buddies to loot the treasury. We get billions, we get to rob the taxpayer, and everybody else can fuck off. I'm going to give my tax breaks to the 1%. I'll give money to corporations in the form of subsidies. I'll give a record amount of money to our giant, bloated, waste, fraud, and abuse military. But anything for the social safety net, for the regular person in need, fuck off, bro. The assistance provided by workers going door to door, they say, has usually focused on the most impacted and the most vulnerable communities where there may be people who are elderly or with disabilities or a lack of transportation and are unable to reach disaster recovery centers. In other words, exactly what the fuck I said. The people who need the help the most, they're saying, you're not going to get it now. This is just like, get this. So they're destroying the Department of Education. They're trying to get rid of the Department of Education. But ready for this? Something good the Department of Education does, like look out for special needs and disabled people across this country, that they're getting rid of. That they're done with. But what the Department of Education will keep doing is robbing students who are in student loan debt. So we're going to abolish the agency, but we're going to continue to do all the bad things the agency does and stop doing all the good things they do. I mean, this is literally just straight up like dog eat dog, survival of the fittest. If you're disabled, if you're elderly, we don't care. This person spoke to Wired on the condition of anonymity as they were not authorized to speak to the press. FEMA did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Todd DeVoe, the emergency management coordinator for the city of Inglewood, California, and the second vice president at the International Association of Emergency Managers, says that in his years of working in disaster management, he's seen how many survivors don't get information about recovery or resources without door-to-door outreach, despite emergency managers using strategies like direct mailers and radio and newspaper ads. Going door-to-door, especially in critically hit areas, to share information is very important, he says. There's a need for it. Can it be done more efficiently? Probably, but getting rid of it completely is really going to hamper some things. FEMA's door-to-door canvassing became a political flashpoint last year during Hurricane Milton, when an agency whistleblower alerted the conservative news site The Daily Wire that one official had told workers in Florida to avoid approaching homes with Trump yard signs. That's total fucking bullshit. Former FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell told the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability during hearing last year that the incident was isolated to one employee who had since been fired. The employee in turn claimed that she acted on orders from a superior and that the issue was a pattern of hostile encounters with survivors who had Trump yard signs. Republicans on the Oversight Committee alleged that they had received information indicating widespread discrimination against individuals displaying Trump campaign signs on their property throughout FEMA. In March, the agency fired 3 more employees following an internal investigation into the issue. I love this. So it's all, it's always, we're the victims, let's play the victims, right? And then Trump gets in power, and is he going, you know what? We got to give even more help to all these people in the field. No, he goes, let's give it to none of them. Nobody gets it. And by the way, I literally don't believe this story. To the extent anything like this happened, I'm sure it was an example like this one person went to this one Trump supporter's house and they were berated and they pointed a gun at them or something and they were like, oh shit, that was scary as fuck. Hey, maybe we should be a little careful when we go to the Trump yard sign houses. I can see something like that happening, but the idea that it's like targeted systemic discrimination against MAGA. No, you know who's doing targeted discrimination against MAGA right now? Trump. Because he's saying, I'm not approving a disaster declaration for the state of West Virginia, even though they've been begging for it for a while and they've needed it. Fuck them. There's that, and there's literally what he's doing here, where he goes, we're not going to go to door to door anymore. Fuck going door to door. So anyway, this is why Trump made a big stink about, oh, Biden's abandoning people. FEMA's abandoning people under Biden. Would never happen under me. Would never happen. And now, 10 toes down, chest puffed out, he's like, let's abolish FEMA. And they're literally starting to do that now. If you think this is where it ends, I have a bridge to sell you. We know these people. We know what they're capable of. We know what they want to do. We know what happens when they have power and they run wild. They are actually going to follow through, and they're going to destroy everything. Wow, man. Wow. That's low. It doesn't get lower than saying fuck people who are in need, fuck the most vulnerable, fuck the poorest, fuck the disabled, fuck the elderly. And understand, it's the point, right? That, hey, if you don't go door to door and show these people how to access the funds that they have a right to, then they're not going to get the funds. Yeah, that's the point. They don't want them to get the funds because they don't believe the federal government should be helping people. They straight up don't believe that. That's why the Republicans in the House passed a budget that cut Medicaid over $800 billion, which literally just destroys Medicaid. They're like, healthcare for poor people? Fuck that. Get rid of that. Jesus Christ. These people, like, understand something. At the very least, under Democratic administrations, you have efficient managers who the basic stuff will get taken care of, right? To make an analogy to parenting, it's like under the Democrats, the kid's always going to get picked up. Yeah, you might be a mess. You might have had a bad day of work. You might be tired. It might be a little crabby or whatever, but you're not going to leave your kid at school, right? The Republicans are the equivalent of, I forgot that my kid was at school and now I'm drunk at home on the couch, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, there was plenty of criticisms, rightly so, against Pete Buttigieg as transportation secretary. But there weren't 7 fucking plane crashes in the first 100 days, right? That now it's literally our air traffic control system is collapsing. We're 3,000 short. 90% of towers don't have enough staffers. And Pete literally had to go to Congress to beg them to fund 3,000 more air traffic controllers. And the Republicans said, fuck off, right? But this is what we're talking about. Like, okay, are there issues under Democrats? Sure. But they're at least going to try to do the basic shit, like the most basic shit. This is, we're against the idea of helping as a concept. We don't believe in helping people. Okay, all right. Man, every time you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. And that's what you guys need to keep in mind. At no point should you think, oh, we've hit rock bottom. No, we haven't. Because it can go way, 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 way lower, and it probably fucking will. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.